Well, g'day, Max here again with another episode of Swarf and Chips. So, this week, episode 6, will be covering the Toolpost grinder overhaul. So, hopefully we're just up for a set of bearings and a new electrical cord. But we'll see how we go. Fingers crossed. We did have, there's that word again, too bad. We did have two things turn up in the post. One item I have ordered quite some time ago, and one was a letter that came from California. So that's from Lance and Patrick, Active Atom Precision Micro Machining. So they've kindly sent us over a couple of their channel stickers for the board. Get them out of the envelope. There we go. So we've got some new stickers for the board. Hang on, I'll redo that. That one, two of those, and these ones. These are really cool because they've got a little sticker on the side as well. So what we're wondering, who's who? Is that Patrick and that Lance? Or is that Lance and that's Patrick? Maybe that's Patrick and that's Lance. So we'll get these fellas up on the board and then we'll hook into the Toolpost grinder. And not forgetting our other package. This has come from New Jersey, I think, NJ, correct me if I'm wrong, from Stephen Lang. So we all know usually what he sends out, apart from his channel stickers. She has quite a good channel, worth having a look. And a lot of you would have seen these before. Precision ground flat stones. So I've been hanging out for these for a long time. I've got a lot of tooling that needs a bit of a zap over, just to tidy up any nicks and burrs. So these will be put to very good use. Might even make a proper case for these, a wooden case or something. Okay, we'll head over to this board and get these stickers up from Lance and Patrick, and Shark River machine, I've already have one up there, but I'll put this one elsewhere. I think he can go out the cupboard door with Keith Fenner and Gemtrick, or Mr. Bruce Witham. So we'll swing out and we'll check out the board. Okay, this is our, I'm guessing, 1970s model Walden Toolpost grinder, made in Australia. So the old spindles are a bit noisy, the motor's a bit, yeah, well, it's a bit how you're going. So we'll see if we can't pop the bearings out, pop the covers off, and have a bow peep inside and see what's going on with the thing. So we'll start with the spindle. The old Bridgeport makes a good workbench. Bolt things down to it. With our tray to put all our parts in. So I guess first thing to come off will be the pulley and the grinding wheel. hopefully. It's got it. Okay. Pulley, little tiny woodruff key, careful not to lose that. And a shield. On the other side. Got our grinding wheel. The little flanges for the grinding wheel. It has a reducing sleeve, another flange, and a bodgy washer. Well, I don't know what that's doing in there, so we'll sort that one out when it comes back together. Pop the guard off. Could do a bit of a repair job there. You might have to break out the TIG welder and the alloy rods. We'll consider it anyway, building that back up. Okay, now the spindle bearings. It looks like we've got these caps, so there is a little slot machined into the nut, so that tells me there's a fair chance they're threaded in there. So we don't have a special tool. It's only a small notch, but we do have a bit of aluminum angle iron. We'll use that as a punch. That one, they shouldn't be that tight anyway. The other side. I got to keep remembering when I work on this stuff, it's a it's a piece of precision tooling, not the sort of stuff that I usually work on in my daytime job, which is earth moving machinery, which you can get away with a lot more brute force, brutality and bigger hammers. So that's just a straightforward cap on that one and a straightforward cap on that one, so keep everything separate. So this end here we have got a wave washer. That's just to keep a bit of end pressure on the bearing. There's a shim. There's an order so we don't mix them up. The bearing. And the spindle. Wow. Only a very bare amount of grease on that, which you'd sort of expect. There's no actual proper seal, so you must just use a very light grade high-speed grease. We'll keep them in their respective order, just in case we do have to reuse them. Oh, there's another race in there which we have to get out. Just very gently give it a tap out. With our specialised piece of tooling, a long 1/2-inch bolt. They don't look that bad, these racers. They just we may get away with a good clean out and repack them. R&M's the manufacturer, made in England. We'll see if they're available anyway. So that goes that side. And just a plug screw in the top. So yeah, there's no sign of any oil seal, so if you put oil in it, it will just run straight out. So next up, the motor. We'll get the pulley off. Brushes out. We'll have a look at these brushes. Well, that's a good sign because there's a lot of pudding left on that one anyway. We'll try this one. And the same again. So at least we're not up for brushes. That's always good. Okay, so we'll pop this pulley off. Pull that grub screw right out and check the hole, because sometimes I have come across it before where there's been two grub screws, one underneath another. So it's just a minor detail, always worth checking. So off he comes. So the pulley's all in good condition. So the shaft, well, quite a few file marks on the shaft, a couple of flats being filed in it for the grub screw to seat on, but that was still a firm fit on there, so it should be right. So off with the end cover. So the brushes are at that end, so this is the cover we want to pull off. So we'll pull this off and then we'll pull the armature out. If you pull that cover off, you've got to be very careful because there'll be wires attached from the brush housings, and they'll go to the field coils inside. Okay, well that's going to need a little bit of persuasion. We'll get our aluminium punch. There we have it. And out it comes as an assembly. So we have a cooling fan inside. Everything looks alright. The commutator could do with a bit of a, no, it's not grooved, it's just dull. Bit of a clean up. You can hear that bearing. And that one. That's okay. So that should just be a light tap fit through that bearing, so we should be able to grab it with our hand, and we'll give it a bit of a taparoonie on the end of the shaft. And very careful not to damage the fan blades. And we'll find our copper hammer. That's it, 2 taps. Just our housing. And our other noisy bearing. Well, that's good, nothing major, so the bearings are... I have to get one of those loop things, I think. Can't even read that. 6200Z, it looks like. Nachi, Japan. So who knows when these were done last. So okay, well, that's good. We'll pop the bearings off. We'll have to get a small puller set up. So I don't think I've got a leg puller that will go down that small. But what I do have is a set of these bearing separators. So what we should do is, these will clamp in there. We can put this in the press and we can push on the end of the shaft, and that will get our bearings off. We'll get this set up in the press, our bearings off, and bring you back. Okay, we've got the armature set up in the press with the bearing separators. So we'll get the bearing pushed off. Just using a bolt. Push it through. Let's get it centralised. Okay. There she comes. That's the easy end. The other end we're going to have to put some packers under the bearing separator because we have to protect this fan. Yeah, so we'll get some packers set up for this and we'll push this one off. Okay, so we've packed up our bearing separators with these nylon blocks. It's a bit of a precarious setup, so we'll just have to keep an eye on it and just go very careful. And there we have it. The armature's still in one piece. That's a good sign. The fan's not damaged. We have the bearing. So we'll get a couple of bearings ordered, get the parts cleaned up, we can put this one back together. We do have one other thing. Emma Ritson from the Spare Room Machine Shop was wondering on Project X, on the base plate, how I managed to get all the screws so the slots all line up. Well, there's a bit of mucking around. Should do a demo on it one day. It's just a matter of juggling the screws around till they're close and tighten them all down and just see how far they've got to go, and then just one at a time take one out and get the countersink and just very gingerly just give it take a few thou more out at a time on the countersink, and until they're nipped down with about 1/8 of a turn to go, and then you can give them the final torque. and that's how you get them all aligned. It's a lot of messing around, but it's worth it. It finishes the job off. And, yeah, just a small thing. So, all right. Okay, we're just going to take a very super light cleaning cut over this commutator. This is copper, so we've got a very sharp high-speed steel tooling. So we'll just take a few thou off and see how it comes up. We'll take one more cut, I think. That's pretty good. We'll just break that sharp edge very gently. Now, what we'll have to do now is just by hand, just get a scraper tool and just very gently go down each of the grooves on the commutator just to take those burrs off in there. You can't use emery paper. Well, it's not recommended. You're not supposed to use emery paper. So I think the grit of the emery gets embedded in the copper. And it will just chop out your brushes. So we'll get this set up and clean up the slots. Doesn't take much. So we just go around very carefully and knock the burrs off. Okay. Well, okay, that's all of the grooves very carefully cleaned out. So you can't have any burrs bits of copper allowing two of the segmented parts to touch, otherwise I think they arc out. So just give it a very light polish, no emery paper. I'm just going to use a little bit of wet and dry, a bit of 400 grade wet and dry. I'm just using it on the back of a file. That's very good. Just looking very carefully because there is a damaged section on here, just to make sure the insulation can be seen all the way down the length of the groove. This one's looking okay. Alright, job's done. Ah, the dogs are visiting. There's not dogs in the shop, it's chooks. Aid's workshop over in the UK had an interesting point the other day with regards to a Starrett micrometer that he picked up. It was a number 436 2 to 3 inch micrometer from Scotland, Jedburgh, Scotland. So on the thimble it has the LS Starrett Company Limited, made in Great Britain. So as he was saying, there must have been a couple of factories scattered around here and there that also made Starrett tools outside of the USA. So, there you have it. Okay, another handy tool, which is a bit of a thing of the past. You don't see too much of these around nowadays. Occasionally they might pop up on eBay or something like that. Are these handheld thread chasers. Okay, so we have one here for external threads and the one for internal threads. So these will put the final radius on the root and crest of a thread, especially like the British threads have, rather than a flat on the top and the root like an SAE thread, the British threads quite often a radius, so this puts that final radius on. And they're also good for take that smidgen off when you're screw cutting, just if you get any little tight spots, and also for repairing existing damaged threads. So the way these work, so just slip into a wooden handle. You set up a piece of square bar stock in your tool post as close as possible to the thread. This rests on, which with hand pressure, and push it into the thread, and the thread will carry it along, and it will take a final little whisker off your thread for final fitting of the thread. Plus also, if you have a geometric die head, the dies, once they get a bit blunt and worn, can be repurposed. Oh, it's a bit bodgy, but that's a really good job for them. Welded onto the shanks of these tools, and it puts the old worn out dies to another good use. Just a bit of useless information, but they are very handy. There you have it. Okay, we'll just have a bit of a sneak preview on our up and coming project. Now this is sort of inspired by, the Wilton Baby Bullet Vise. Now, on the YouTube Machinist Facebook channel, Aaron from Always Sunny in the Shop is restoring a 2-inch baby bullet Wilton, and that's to go on raffle at the Bar Z Summer Bash this year over in California. I think it's California. So that sort of, I wouldn't mind one of those, so I've hopefully teed up someone over there to buy us a raffle ticket if he remembers. Bruce, remember? So we'll see, but the chances of me winning are, that's not going to happen. So, well, I'll make my own. So we had another look at Tom Lipton's channel where he made his one, and I'd like to do a slightly different take on it because I don't want to spend 6 weeks filing and sanding down welds. So I'd just like to take a slightly different approach on it. The Tom's one came up very well, but I want to do this one a bit different. So what I intend to do is combine it with a bit of older time copy turning, and well, not so much copy turning, there will be copy turning involved, but short production runs. What we used to call it was block turning, where you'd have a set of soft jaws in your lathe and you just do 1 at the maximum 2 operations on your part. You take your part out, put the next part in and repeat. Now that saved the inaccuracies overcome by tool changes. Tool changes are fine if you're just roughing out, but you can get lose a lot of repeatability with tool changes on a, depending on what type of tool post you've got, of course, as well. But so anyway, that's what we're going to do. Now, because parts of the Wilton, or the main body, it's like a cigar-shaped part. Now I want to be able to repeat that exactly the same, and also duplicate that on an ID for where the cigar-shaped part comes down onto the base, because that has to be scalloped out as on the same profile. So what we're going to make up is a basic profiling attachment for this lathe, something we can hold the part in off to one side. Our our cross slide runs up against it to maintain the profile, and all our cuts are taken off the compound slide. So I'm just dreaming up a bit of design at the moment, something that will take a round profile item and also be able to take a profile cut out on a piece of flat plate which can be clamped in, similar to like a stylus copier on the hydraulic versions, but this is a manual version. So I've got a few things to work out on the finer details, and then we'll get cracking on that one. So just a quick insight into what's coming. So take care, catch you later.